Good evening, and welcome to Sleepy Night Channel. Tonight, we explore the Ice Age, with the silent expansion of glaciers carving the ancient Earth, and the slow breath of giants walking through the falling snow. You can simply listen, slow and easy, and let your mind rest. Soft bell chimes and gentle ambience continue throughout, made for peaceful nights. If you'd like more calm bedtime episodes, you can like, subscribe, or leave a short comment below. It helps this channel reach others who need something quiet at night. Now, let's begin. We begin our journey by letting go of the present moment. We gently detach from the noise of today. The warm glow of screens fades away. The hum of electricity goes quiet. We are drifting back in time, moving upstream against the flow of history. We float past the rise of modern cities, past the building of the pyramids, past the invention of farming. We are going back 20,000 years, to a time when the world was quiet, wild, and brilliantly white. We land softly on a familiar Earth, but it looks different. The air here is crisp and incredibly clean. It fills your lungs with a cold, refreshing purity. There is a stillness here that we have forgotten. No engines, no industrial hum. Just the sound of the wind sweeping across vast, open spaces. This is the Pleistocene epoch, the time of the Great Freeze. The temperature has dropped. Year by year, century by century, the warmth has retreated toward the equator. Winter has become the dominant season. It stretches out, claiming more months on the calendar. Summer is just a brief, cool whisper. A fleeting moment for the flowers to bloom before the frost returns. The planet is in a deep hibernation. We stand on a high ridge looking north. Before us lies a landscape transformed. Where there were once forests, there are now miles of snow. The trees that remain are hardy and strong. Spruce and fir trees, their branches heavy with white powder. They stand like statues in the twilight, silent guardians of the frozen frontier. But the most striking feature is the ice itself. It is not just a thin layer on a pond. It is a geological force. Massive sheets of ice, miles thick, have crept down from the poles. They cover entire continents like a heavy blanket. They have swallowed mountains and filled valleys, locking the land in a grip of crystal and cold. The ocean levels have dropped. So much water is trapped in the ice that the seas have receded. New land has appeared. Bridges of earth connect continents that were once separated. You could walk from England to France on dry land. You could walk from Siberia to Alaska. The world is bigger, wider. A continuous path of steppe and tundra waiting to be explored. We walk slowly across this new landscape. Our boots crunch softly into the packed snow. It is a satisfying, rhythmic sound. It is the only sound for miles. The snow absorbs the noise, creating a padded, acoustic silence. It feels private here, as if the world has been prepared just for you. The sky above is a pale, icy blue. The sun hangs low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the drifts. It does not provide much heat, but it gives a beautiful light. It sparkles on the ice crystals, turning the ground into a field of diamonds. Millions of tiny points of light flickering as we move. It is a cold beauty. Sharp, clear, perfect. We feel the cold on our cheeks, but we are warm. We are wrapped in heavy furs, just like the ancestors who walked here. The cold is outside, the warmth is inside. This contrast makes us feel safe, like being under a thick duvet in a cold room. The harshness of the environment makes the comfort of the body feel even deeper. You are protected. As we look closer at the snow, we see tracks. History is written on the white page of the earth. Here, a small fox has trotted lightly across the crust. There, a heavy herd has ploughed a path through the drifts. The tracks are frozen in time. Evidence of life in a sleeping world. They lead towards the horizon, inviting us to follow, inviting us to see what giants are waiting in the distance. We leave the open snowfields behind us. We walk towards a shape on the horizon that blocks out the sky. It looks like a mountain range made of glass and clouds. As we get closer, we realize it is not a mountain of rock. It is a wall of ice. It rises hundreds of feet into the air. Sheer, vertical, imposing. This is the edge of the ice sheet. The physical border where the frozen north meets the rest of the world. We stand at the base of this white cliff. We feel very small. The air coming off the ice is dense and heavy. It rolls down the face of the glacier like a cold, invisible waterfall, cooling our skin. It smells ancient. It smells of water that has been locked away for 10,000 years. Clean, mineral, empty. We look closely at the texture of the wall. From a distance, it looked smooth and white. But up close, it is a complex tapestry of scars and lines. The ice is not just one color. It is layers of history stacked on top of each other. Each layer represents a winter snowstorm from the deep past. Snow that fell, settled, and was crushed by the snow that fell the next year. Year after year. Layer after layer. Compacting down into a solid, heavy block. In the deeper cracks, the color changes. It shifts from white to a pale, translucent gray. And then, deeper still, into a stunning, electric blue. This blue is not a reflection of the sky. It comes from inside the ice itself. The weight of the glacier is so immense that it has squeezed out all the air bubbles. It has compressed the crystals until they are perfect and dense. So dense that they absorb every color of the spectrum except blue. It is the color of pure pressure, glowing softly in the shadow of the cliff. This ice looks solid. It looks as hard as granite. If you struck it with a hammer, it would ring like a bell. But this is an illusion of time. To us, living in fast forward, the ice is a rock. But to the Earth, the ice is a liquid. It is a river. A very, very slow river, driven by the irresistible pull of gravity. Imagine pouring a jar of thick honey onto a table on a cold day. It spreads out slowly, relentlessly. That is what the ice sheet is doing. The immense weight of the snow at the center of the continent pushes the edges outward. It flows over the land. It flows over hills. It flows through valleys. Nothing can stop it. It does not rush. It does not need to rush. It has all the time in the world. We place a hand on the cold surface. We close our eyes and try to feel the movement. It is too slow to feel, but we can hear it. The glacier is not silent. Deep inside the mountain of ice, there are sounds. A low, distant groan. A sudden, sharp crack that echoes like a gunshot miles away. A deep, resonant creaking. These are the sounds of the ice adjusting its weight, stretching and settling as it moves over the uneven ground below. It is the song of the frozen river. Heavy, slow, alive. We look up towards the top of the cliff. The surface is rugged and broken. Huge blocks of ice, the size of houses, are jumbled together. Crevasses split the surface open. Deep, jagged canyons in the ice that go down into the dark. They are beautiful and dangerous. Walls of sheer blue plunging into the abyss. At the bottom of these cracks, the pressure is unimaginable. It is a world where no light has ever reached. But trapped within this ice, there are tiny treasures. Microscopic bubbles of air. Atmosphere from the past. Air that was breathed by ancient animals. Air that blew through trees that no longer exist. The glacier is a library. It keeps a perfect record of the world. Every layer is a page in a book of history, preserved in the cold, waiting to be read. Beneath the ice, hidden from our eyes, the real work is happening. The bottom of the glacier is a giant sheet of sandpaper. As the ice moves, it drags rocks and boulders along with it, grinding them against the bedrock. Scraping, polishing, carving. It turns solid stone into fine powder. Rock flour, they call it. This grinding is what shapes the mountains. It turns V-shaped valleys into wide U-shaped valleys. It scoops out the basins for future lakes. The landscape is being sculpted by a cold, heavy hand, is less than #2. 2# is greater than. We step back from the wall. We watch the clouds drifting over the jagged peaks of the ice. The scale of it makes our minds go quiet. There is no room for small worries in the presence of such a giant. The ice demands nothing from you. It does not care about schedules. It operates on geological time. Slow, steady, unstoppable. Just being near it slows down your own heartbeat, syncing you with the rhythm of the freeze. Sometimes a piece of the wall breaks off. Calving. A massive block of white separates slowly from the main sheet. It slides down with a deep, rumbling roar, crashing into the snow below, exploding into a cloud of powder. But even this violence is slow. It happens in a kind of dream time, and then silence returns. The ice heals. The river flows on, unchanged. We realize that this ice is heavy in more ways than one. It is so heavy that it actually pushes the crust of the earth down. The land sinks under the weight of the glaciers, like a mattress sinking under a sleeping body. When the ice eventually melts, thousands of years from now, the land will slowly spring back up. The rebound of the earth. But for now, the land is pinned down, held in place by the white burden, sleeping under the cover of the cold. We turn and look along the length of the ice wall. It stretches for miles to the left and miles to the right. An endless barrier of white and blue. It feels like the end of the world. Or perhaps the beginning. It is a place of absolute purity, where water becomes rock, where motion becomes stillness, where time becomes frozen. We take one last look at the deep blue heart of a crevasse, letting that color fill our eyes, cooling our thoughts, quieting the mind. We are ready to move on, to leave the river of ice and see what lives in its shadow, to find the giants who call this frozen world their home. We turn our backs on the blue cliffs of the glacier. We walk out onto the open plains that stretch endlessly to the south. This is the mammoth stepper. It is not a barren desert of snow. It is a dry, cold grassland. The wind has swept the snow away in patches, revealing clumps of hardy, dry grass and low shrubs. The landscape is painted in shades of white, brown, and pale gold. It is vast. You could walk for months and never see a fence or a wall. Only the curvature of the earth limits your view. In the distance, shapes are moving against the white background. They look like dark boulders that have decided to wander. We move closer, keeping downwind so they do not smell us. As we approach, the shapes resolve into animals. They are the icons of the ice. the woolly mammoths. They are magnificent. Taller than the elephants we know today, and far more imposing. They carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. We stop and watch a single large male. He is a mountain of fur. His silhouette is unmistakable. A high, humped shoulder that slopes down towards his hips. He is built for power, not for speed. His coat is a marvel of biological engineering. It hangs down almost to the ground like a heavy skirt, swaying gently in the Arctic breeze. It is a mix of dark chocolate brown and lighter, sun-bleached tan. Thick, matted, weatherproof. We can see the layers of his insulation. On the outside, there are the guard hairs. Long, coarse strands that reach over a meter in length. They act like a raincoat, shedding the snow and the sleet. But underneath that, hidden from view, is the underwool. A dense, soft layer of fine hair that traps the heat against the skin. It is softer than cashmere, warmer than any blanket. This animal is a walking fortress against the cold. He could sleep in a blizzard and not feel a thing. He stands perfectly still for a moment. A statue of the steppe. Then, a cloud of steam erupts from his trunk, his breath hitting the freezing air. It hangs there for a long time, a white fog around his face. We can hear him breathing. A deep, resonant sound, like air moving through a large cavern. It is a slow rhythm. In and out, steady as a pendulum. His head is dominated by two magnificent tusks. They are not straight like spears. They are curved, spiraling inwards towards each other. Great arcs of ivory that gleam in the low sunlight. They are incredibly long, curving down, then up, then back. These are not weapons of war. They are tools for survival. We watch as he lowers his head. He uses the side of a tusk to sweep away a drift of snow, like a giant plow, clearing the ground to reveal the dried grasses underneath. It is a gentle, practiced motion. Then, the trunk comes into play. It is thick and muscular, covered in short hair. But the tip is delicate. It has two fingers at the end, unlike modern elephants who only have one. He uses these sensitive fingers to pluck a tuft of grass. He shakes it to remove the ice crystals, then curls the trunk up to place the food in his mouth. We hear the sound of grinding. Huge molar teeth crushing the tough vegetation. It is a peaceful, domestic sound in the middle of the wilderness. We notice his ears. They are surprisingly small, tiny compared to the great fans of African elephants. Nature has shrunk them to save heat. Large ears would freeze in this climate, so he keeps them tucked close to his head, hidden in the fur. His tail is short too. A little flap of skin with a tassel of hair at the end, designed to keep the warmth in the core. Every inch of him is adapted for this specific world. He is not alone. Behind him, the rest of the herd emerges from the mist. Females and young ones. They move in a tight group, touching each other constantly. Trunks resting on backs. Shoulders leaning against shoulders. They share their warmth. They are a single unit of life in a landscape of ice. The matriarch leads them slowly. She knows where the grass is richest. She remembers the path from winters past. We see a calf, a baby mammoth. He is fuzzy and round, like a ball of wool on legs. He trots to keep up with his mother's long strides. He stays directly underneath her belly, protected by her legs, protected by the curtain of her long hair. He is safe there, shielded from the wind and the wolves. Sometimes he reaches up with his tiny trunk to touch her chin, a gesture of reassurance. I am here. You are safe. The herd communicates in silence, or at least silence to our ears. Like the dinosaurs before them, they use infrasound. Low-frequency rumbles that travel through the frozen ground. We can feel it in our chest. A subtle vibration. A deep, throbbing hum that connects them over miles. It is a secret language. A way to stay together in the blinding white. They are calm animals. They have few enemies when fully grown. A wolf pack might test them, but one swing of a tusk sends them running. So the mammoths walk with confidence. They do not skulk. They own the landscape. They are the architects of the steppe. By knocking down trees and trampling the snow, they keep the grasslands open. They create the very world they live in. We walk alongside them for a while, keeping a respectful distance. The smell of the herd is strong. Musk and wet fur and dry sage. It is an earthy, pungent scent. The smell of raw biology. It contrasts with the clean, sterile smell of the ice. Life is messy. Life is warm. Life creates its own atmosphere. The sun begins to dip lower. The light turns gold, illuminating the edges of their fur, making them glow like halos. The large male pauses to scratch his flank against a solitary boulder, rubbing the thick skin against the rough stone. Dust flies up into the air. He closes his eyes in pleasure. A simple moment of relief. Even in the Ice Age, there is time for comfort. Watching them is hypnotic. The sway of the coat, the swing of the trunk, the slow placement of the feet. Everything is done with deliberation. They conserve their energy. They do not waste a single movement. They are masters of efficiency, living batteries of warmth moving through the cold. As they drift further away, they begin to blend into the landscape again, turning back into dark shapes against the snow. Their footprints remain behind them. Huge, round depressions packed hard into the crust. Already, the wind is beginning to fill them with drifting powder, erasing the evidence of their passing. But we know they are there. The guardians of the North, walking their eternal loop across the roof of the world. We stand alone on the steppe again. The silence rushes back in to fill the space where the giants were. But it feels less empty now. We know that this cold world is full of life. Beating hearts hidden under layers of wool. Surviving against the odds. It makes the cold feel a little less lonely. The wind on the open steppe begins to pick up. It whistles through the dry grass. The temperature drops rapidly as the sun hides behind a bank of grey clouds. It is time to seek shelter. We leave the mammoths to their grazing. We walk towards the limestone cliffs that rise up from the valley floor. Dark openings dot the face of the rock. They look like eyes watching the frozen world. These are the caves, the first homes of humanity. Sanctuaries carved by water long before the ice arrived. We step out of the biting wind and into the mouth of a cave. The change is instant. The noise of the gale vanishes, replaced by a heavy, dampened silence. The air here is still. It is not warm, but it is constant. Caves maintain a steady temperature year-round. Cool in the summer, but surprisingly protective in the winter. It feels like the earth is wrapping its stone arms around us. We move deeper into the twilight. The walls are damp and cool to the touch. We can see the layers of sediment in the rock. Ancient seabeds that were lifted up to become mountains. Water drips from the ceiling. Drop. 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 Each drop carries a tiny amount of dissolved mineral. Calcite. Over thousands of years, these drops build sculptures. Stalactites hanging down like stone icicles. Stalagmites growing up from the floor to meet them. They grow incredibly slowly, less than an inch every century. Patience turned into rock. In the center of the cave floor, there is a circle of blackened stones. A hearth. The remains of a fire that burned long ago. In the Ice Age, wood was scarce on the tundra. Trees were precious and rare. So they burned what they had. Dried animal dung. Old bones rich in marrow and fat. Bone fires burn hot and slow. They produce a thick, greasy smoke, but they last through the long night. Imagine sitting by that fire. The orange light dancing on the cave walls, making the shadows jump and move. Perhaps this is where the first stories were told. Not with words, but with shadows. The flickering light turning a bump on the wall into a bison, or a crack in the stone into a running horse. The cave was not just a shelter. It was the first cinema, the first theater of the mind. On the walls, we see faint traces of color. Red ochre, black charcoal, handprints pressed against the stone. The artists blew pigment over their hands to create a negative image. I was here. A signature left across 20,000 years. The hands are small. Some of them missing a finger, perhaps from frostbite, or perhaps as a sign language we can no longer read. They reach out to us from the past, touching the same cold rock that we are touching now. Further back, the cave narrows. The ceiling drops low. We have to crouch. This is the domain of another resident, the cave bear. Massive creatures, larger than any grizzly alive today. They spent their winters here, deep in hibernation. We can see the bare polish on the walls. Smooth, shiny patches of rock where generations of bears rubbed their fur as they passed by. Polished by soft hair over millennia. Sometimes, humans and bears competed for these spaces. A dangerous game of musical chairs played in the dark. But now, the cave is empty. There is only the sound of our breathing and the eternal drip of the water. The floor is soft, covered in layers of dust and ancient ash. It creates a soft bed. We sit down near the ghost of the fire. Looking out towards the entrance is less than Hasson. 4 hash is greater than the opening frames the world outside like a window. We can see the snow falling again. Thick, heavy flakes drifting past the opening. But they cannot touch us here. We are inside the mountain, held in the womb of the earth. The feeling of enclosure is comforting. It taps into a primal instinct, the need for a roof, the need for a wall at your back. It allows the nervous system to switch off. You do not need to watch the horizon anymore. You do not need to scan for predators. The rock does the watching for you. The narrow entrance is your gatekeeper. We close our eyes for a moment in the dark. The darkness here is absolute. It is a heavy, velvet black. Without the fire, you cannot see your hand in front of your face. It is a rest for the eyes unlike anything in the modern world. No standby lights. No street lamps filtering through curtains. Just pure, unadulterated void. A place where sleep comes easily. Where dreams are vivid. We listen to the wind howling outside. It sounds angry, but here, it is just a distant murmur, a reminder of how safe we are. The contrast makes the silence deeper. The cold makes the stillness warmer. We stay here for a while, just existing in the stone silence, waiting for the storm to pass, waiting for the night to truly begin. The storm outside the cave finally breaks. The howling wind dies down to a whisper. And then, silence returns. We step out from the shelter of the rock face. The clouds have stripped away, leaving the sky completely naked. We look up, and we gasp. Without any city lights, without any smog, the sky is not black. It is a deep, glowing violet. It is crowded with stars. Thousands upon thousands of them. So many that the familiar constellations are almost lost in the crowd. They hang low over the ice. Bright, piercing, alive. The Milky Way is not just a faint smudge. It is a distinct ribbon of diamond dust. A bridge of light arching from one horizon to the other. We can see the dark dust lanes running through it. Shadows in the starlight. It looks like a spine. The backbone of the night, holding up the roof of the world. The air is so clear that the stars do not twinkle. They burn with a steady, unblinking light. Like holes punched in a velvet curtain, letting the light of heaven shine through. We feel the immense depth of the universe. The ice sheet under our feet is thick, but the space above our heads is infinite. We are standing on a frozen stage, looking out into the grandest theater of all. And then it begins. To the north, a faint glow appears. At first, it looks like a pale green mist rising from the snow. But it is not mist. It starts to move. The aurora borealis. The northern lights. In the Ice Age, the magnetic poles were shifting. The lights were often stronger, brighter, and more frequent than they are today. They are not just a display. They are the visible breath of the sun hitting the shield of the earth. A curtain of emerald green unfurls across the sky. It ripples gently, like a silk sheet blowing in a slow-motion wind. The bottom edge is sharp and defined, tracing a line above the mountains. But the top edge fades upwards into the stars. The green is intense, the color of oxygen glowing in the vacuum. It is a ghostly, alien neon, illuminating the white world below with a strange, soft twilight. Then the color shifts. Above the green, a deep blood red appears. It is rarer. It shimmers like a heat haze, blending into purples and pinks. It looks as if the sky itself is blushing. These tall red rays stretch up hundreds of miles, reaching towards the black of space. The colors fold over each other, mixing, separating, dancing. It is a silent symphony of light. The movement is hypnotic. It does not flash or jerk. It flows. It is the definition of fluidity. Sometimes it forms a perfect arc, a rainbow of the night. Sometimes it spirals into a corona directly overhead, a tunnel of light that seems to pull your soul upwards. We tilt our heads back, dizzy with the scale of it. It feels as though we could reach up and touch the ribbons, as though they would feel like cool water running through our fingers. We look down at the snow. The landscape has changed color. The white drifts are no longer white. They are glowing green. The ice on the glacier reflects the show above. A mirror made of frozen water. The world is bathed in this magical submarine light. The shadows of the trees are not black anymore. They are deep forest green. It is a dreamscape. A world that does not feel real. We listen intently. Some legends say the lights make a sound. A crackling, a hissing, like static electricity or rustling silk. We hold our breath, but we hear nothing. The show is absolute silence. That is what makes it so powerful. It is a massive release of energy, a cosmic storm. Yet, it makes no noise. It respects the quiet of the Ice Age. We wonder if the animals are watching too. Is the mammoth looking up? Is the cave bear pausing in his sleep? Or is this just part of their normal night? To us, it is a miracle. To them, it is just the ceiling of their home. A nightlight that turns on when the sun is gone. The display begins to fade. The intense bands broaden and diffuse. The sharp edges soften. The colors drift apart like smoke, returning the sky to the stars. We feel a heavy calmness settling over us. We have seen the majesty of the planet. We have felt the solar wind on our faces. We are small, but we are part of something incredibly beautiful. We pull our furs tighter. The cold is crisp, but not biting. The spectacle has warmed us from the inside. Our eyes are heavy now, tired from taking in so much light. It is time to look back to the earth, to find the small, hidden lives that exist beneath this grand sky, to see how the tundra sleeps. We lower our gaze from the dancing lights in the sky. We look down at our feet, at the frozen earth that supports us. The spectacle above was grand and moving, but the reality down here is quiet and stubborn. This is the tundra. It looks empty. A flat, white canvas stretching out in every direction. But it is not empty. It is hiding its life, protecting it, tucking it away in small pockets of warmth. We crouch down to inspect the ground where the wind has swept the snow away. The soil here is hard as iron. It is permafrost, ground that has remained frozen for thousands of years. It does not yield to the touch. It feels like walking on a planet made of concrete. But clinging to this rock-hard surface are the survivors, the lichens. They are not plants, and they are not fungi. They are a partnership between the two, growing together to survive when nothing else can. We see a patch of reindeer moss. It is not green. It is a pale, ghostly grey-green. It looks like tiny, intricate coral growing on dry land. It is brittle in the cold. If you touched it, it would feel crunchy. It grows incredibly slowly, expanding by just a few millimeters a year. A patch the size of your hand might be older than you are. It is a living clock, marking the passage of the Ice Age in microscopic increments. Something moves in the corner of our eye. At first, we see nothing. Just white snow against white snow. But then, a black dot blinks. It is the eye of an Arctic hare. It is sitting perfectly still. Its fur is a brilliant, snowy white. In the summer, it was brown to match the mud. But now, it has put on its winter coat. It has disappeared into the landscape. Only the black tips of its ears give it away, looking like two small stones sticking out of a drift. We look at its feet. They are huge, disproportionately large for its body. They are natural snowshoes. The toes spread wide, covered in thick, coarse fur. When it moves, it does not sink. It floats on top of the powder, moving lightly, silently. It tucks its legs underneath its body, turning itself into a compact sphere of heat, minimizing the surface area. It is a master of thermodynamics, waiting out the cold in a state of zen-like patience. Nearby, we see a small hole in the snow, a tiny chimney venting warm air. Down there, beneath the surface, is a secret world. The subnivean zone, the space between the ground and the snowpack. Snow is an excellent insulator. It traps the heat of the earth. While the air up here might be 50 degrees below freezing, down there, it is just around zero. A cozy microclimate. In that hidden dark, lemmings and voles are busy. They have built a city of tunnels, highways running through the grass. They do not hibernate. They live their whole lives under the blanket, chewing on roots, raising families, safe from the wind, safe from the owls circling above. We imagine the sound of their tiny feet pattering in the tunnels. A soft, scurrying life going on right beneath our boots. A bird lands nearby. A ptarmigan. It looks like a plump, white chicken. Even its feet are covered in feathers, down to the very tips of its toes. It walks with a waddling gait, pecking at the seeds of a frozen poppy. When the night gets too cold, it does something clever. It flies straight up into the air and then dives headfirst into a snowbank, plunging deep into the powder. The snow closes over it. It sleeps there, buried in a white room. Invisible, warm, hidden from the world until the morning. We walk further, and we see a larger shape standing against the wind. A muskox. It looks like a creature from a fantasy book. It is draped in a coat that drags on the ground. Shaggy, dark brown hair that hangs like a curtain. It stands absolutely still. It does not seek shelter. It is the shelter. Underneath that shaggy outer coat is a layer called chiviute, one of the finest, warmest wools in nature. It is 8 times warmer than sheep's wool. The muskox is a fortress of warmth. The wind blows the snow against its face, but it does not blink. It simply exists, unbothered, a monument to endurance. The silence of the tundra is different from the silence of the cave. It is wide, open. It expands the mind. There are no echoes here. Sound just travels out and never comes back. It makes you feel solitary, but not lonely. It is a peaceful solitude. Just you and the endless horizon. Just you and the slow, deep breathing of the planet. The stars overhead seem to turn slowly. The great clock of the sky ticking forward. But down here, time feels frozen. The lichen grows its millimeter. The hare waits. The muskox stands. Everything is pausing. Everything is conserving. It is a world in a state of deep, restorative rest. And we are resting with it. We stand on the edge of the great white plain. Something in the air has shifted. It is subtle. A microscopic change in the angle of the Earth towards the sun. But the planet feels it. The deep freeze is beginning to loosen its grip. We are witnessing the end of an era. Not with a bang, but with a gentle, rhythmic dripping. We look closely at the tip of an icicle hanging from a rock. For thousands of years, it has been solid stone. But now, a bead of water forms at the end. It swells, heavy with light. It holds on for a moment, fighting gravity. And then it falls. Splash. It lands on the ice below. A tiny impact that ripples out across the stillness. It is the first note of a new song. On the surface of the glacier, the sun is doing its work. Small pools of water begin to gather. They are the color of sapphire, unbelievably blue against the white surroundings. They connect to each other with tiny winding streams, like veins of silver running through the ice. The water is frictionless. It slides silently over the smooth surface, gathering speed, gathering volume, until it finds a crack and plunges deep into the heart of the glacier, disappearing into the dark. The retreat of the ice is not something you can see with the naked eye. It happens inch by inch, year by year. The massive wall of ice we saw earlier is moving backwards, like a tide going out in ultra-slow motion. But as it pulls back, it reveals what it was hiding. It unveils a new landscape, is less than Hasson. 4# is greater than a world that has been scrubbed clean. Fresh, raw, new. We walk across the land that the ice has just left. It is a chaotic garden of stones. We see massive boulders sitting alone in the middle of empty fields. They are called glacial erratics. They do not belong here. Some of them are the size of houses. They were carried for hundreds of miles on the back of the ice, riding the frozen conveyor belt. And when the ice melted, it gently set them down, right where they are. Lonely monuments to a journey that took centuries. They will sit there for 10,000 years more, unmoved. The ground is pitted with hollows, great depressions in the earth where giant blocks of ice were buried. As these buried blocks melt, they leave behind perfect round holes. These fill with crystal clear water, kettle lakes. They are calm mirrors reflecting the changing sky. There is no sediment in them yet, no mud, just pure, distilled water, waiting for the first fish, waiting for the first lily pad. Nature is preparing the stage for the next act. This cycle of freezing and thawing is the heartbeat of the planet. It is a long, slow breath. Inhale, the ice grows. Exhale, the ice melts. Each breath takes 100,000 years. To us, a human lifetime feels long. But to the Earth, the entire history of civilization is just one single exhalation. It is a comforting thought. We are living in a warm moment. A brief summer in a long winter. The planet knows what it is doing. It has a rhythm that we cannot break. It is bigger than us. As the temperature rises, the colors return. The brown tundra begins to blush with green. Tiny shoots of grass push through the softening soil. Hardy flowers, yellow poppies and purple saxifrage open their petals. They follow the sun across the sky, drinking in the light. The smell of the air changes. It no longer smells only of snow. It smells of wet earth, of growth, of life waking up from a long nap. The rivers begin to run faster, fed by the melting giants. They carve new paths through the debris. Braided rivers, splitting and rejoining in complex patterns. They glitter in the sun, carrying the rock flour down to the sea, turning the oceans milky and rich. It is a time of movement, a time of transformation. Water changing state from solid to liquid. Land changing state from sleeping to waking. We sit on a warm rock, one of the erratics. We feel the heat of the stone under our hands. The sun is actually warm on our faces now. We close our eyes and listen to the dripping. Drip, drip, splash. It is a hypnotic metronome, counting down the seconds of the thaw. It makes us feel heavy, relaxed. Like ice melting into water, our muscles are melting into the chair. The tension is evaporating, running away like the meltwater. The mammoths are moving north, following the cold, chasing the ice. They are creatures of the winter, and they leave the summer to others. We watch them fade into the distance, fading into memory, leaving the stage empty and quiet, leaving us alone with the sound of the water and the peace of a new beginning. The sun, which has warmed the ice all day, finally touches the horizon. The long golden hour of the Pleistocene begins. The light stretches out across the snow, turning the white drifts into soft shades of apricot and rose. The shadows of the mountains grow impossibly long, reaching out like fingers to cover the valleys in darkness. The energy of the day is fading. The dripping of the meltwater slows down. Drip, drip. And then, silence. The cold returns to claim the night, freezing the water back into crystal stillness. The wind drops completely. The air becomes still and heavy. There is not a single movement in the entire landscape. The trees stand like ink drawings against the darkening sky. The grass stops swaying. The birds have burrowed deep into the snow. The animals have found their shelter. The great stage of the Ice Age is empty. The actors have gone to sleep. We watch the colors drain from the world. The pinks fade into violet. The violets deepen into indigo. And finally, the soft, velvet black of the night takes over. It is a comforting darkness. It feels like a heavy blanket being pulled up over the earth, tucking the planet in for a long rest. Everything is hidden now. Everything is safe. The glacier is just a sleeping giant in the distance, a pale shape glowing faintly under the stars. It is not moving tonight. It is resting. Its heavy weight is sinking into the bedrock. Grounded, solid, stable, just like you. You feel that same heaviness in your own body. The weight of the ice is the weight of your limbs, sinking down into the mattress, deep into the cushions. Gravity is holding you gentle and tight. You do not need to hold yourself up. The bed supports you just as the earth supports the mountains. You can let go. The history of the Ice Age is finished. The map is drawn. The story is told. There is nothing left to explore. The footprints in the snow are fading away. The wind has smoothed them over, leaving a clean white page for tomorrow. But for now, the book is closed. The museum is locked. The lights are out. You do not need to think about the cold anymore. You are warm. You do not need to think about the time is less than Hasson. 4# is greater than time has stopped. There is only this moment. This quiet room. This slow breath. In and out, matching the rhythm of the sleeping mammoths. Drifting, floating, like a snowflake falling in slow motion, turning gently in the air. Lower and lower, until you land softly on the ground of sleep, merging with the silence. The world is white and quiet. There is no noise here. No hurry. Just the deep, ancient peace of the winter. Resting. Hibernating. Waiting. Now there is only stillness. Heavy. Soft. Complete. If you are still awake, you can subscribe to Sleepy Night channel for more calm night journeys like this. That was 100 calm facts about the Ice Age. Now the sound will continue for a while, so you can fall asleep. Good night.